Just wave it around.
We'll be in touch by the end.
All right, 3-minute call.
Things that really flush it out. 3 minutes.
Yeah, we had somebody get a coffee. Yes. Yeah, well, you're
3 minutes.
No, ma'am. We were waiting on Reggie.
and Rachel. Rachel.
Hi. How are you, sir?
Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Board of Directors to order, April 21, slightly after 3 o'clock. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I'd ask Ben to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I have a card for citizen comments. Is Daniel Rodriguez present? Mr. Rodriguez, please come forward. Welcome. And would you state your name and address for the record?
My name is Daniel A. Rodriguez. I live in 6521 Burgundy Street, or Watauga. Live near Texrail Smithfield Station and Iron Horse Station. This is just some brief sharing that I would like to share. A few days ago, I just got my Class E1 bike rolling around the streets of North Texas. So the bike is actually out front in the window, actually behind me, what I'm looking at. But anyway, it's not just a convenience or enjoyable, it's freedom. That's why I named him Echo. Not only for the name itself, but because of what it means. And it echoes life through vibrant cities. And that's what I want to talk about, how we live. And I've been asking myself and other people, do you like the way you live? Would you rather depend on a car every day, or live in a place where you can walk, bike, or ride and still get where you need to be? That's where the new urbanism comes in. Creating communities built around people instead of cars, not like the old urbanism that's mostly sprawl, traffic, and isolation. Today, people are choosing walkability, bikeability, and real transit. And you can feel the shift happening, especially when Gen Z and young professionals take TexRail. We're starting to see that vision here. Trinity Metro gives us TexRail, quiet, reliable, and real connection between Fort Worth and the airport. DART is building the Silver Line, linking cities like Plano, Carrollton, and Richardson. These are huge steps in giving people freedom in how they move, live, and connect. But it's not just about trains. It's about the experience. I've seen places like Parker Road Station with the decent bike locks, and Trinity Metro with visible bike racks, though we still need better security. There's potential in every from bike parking to frequency, and how these systems serve jobs, neighborhoods, and friendship across the region. So to finalize this, Echo isn't just my e-bike. It's a reminder that our voices, our choices, and it echoes through the places we build. Let's let Echo the kind of city we want to live in. And 3 facts about Echo is that he's 55 pounds, he can run in the speed of 25 miles an hour, and he will be at the Trinity Metro Bikes grand opening this Saturday. But yep, so if you got a chance after, you can meet Echo. But for now, I introduced y'all, Echo. Welcome to the team. Thank you.
Have you all had a chance to review the March 17 minutes? If you had, I'll accept a motion.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the March 17, 2025 board minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. We have several information items and reports. Reed, we'll start wherever you are.
I think we approved the sign
Good afternoon, Board of Directors. I'm Reed Lanham, the Vice President of Rail here at Trinity Metro. I want to give you a quick briefing on our March performance for rail and our long-term parking program. We had another strong month in March on both of our rail systems. Ridership on TexRail came in just shy of 70,000, which is our all-time best month of March since we began. That was up 15.6% over last year. And then for the year, we're 12.4% up on our ridership, which we, again, are very encouraged by and happy to see. Our on-time performance for TexRail is at 98.9%. And safety, which we take a lot of pride in at TexRail, our transportation department, as of last month, is at 2,637 days injury-free, which, again, every month I get to come up here and say that. It may sound repetitive, but it's something that we focus on, and we're very proud of that. On TRE, we had another great month as well with 118,675 rides. That was up 7.4% over last March. We're currently up 1% for the year on TRE in ridership, and our on-time performance last month came in at 97.5%. So again, the team at TRE is doing a great job of keeping that system on time and reliable for our customers. The transportation department at TRE is also quickly building up a wonderful safety record. They're at 752 days straight without a recordable injury. For our long-term parking program, we continue to see success and growth, mainly at T&P and our Smithfield station. We have met with ACE, who's the contractor that administers the parking program, and we're going to look at our lower performing stations, Northside and Iron Horse. Right now, those long-term spots are located in the auxiliary parking lots. We didn't in the beginning, we didn't want to take away from spaces from our daily riders. We've seen, looking at the stations over the years, that the capacity is there to move those spaces over, so we're working with ACE to do that in hopes that we continue to boost these numbers up. And just a quick foreshadowing, we recently had the Main Street Arts Festival here in Fort Worth. That was a massive weekend. I want to give a shout out to our marketing department, Annette and Glenn's group. They did a fantastic job in getting the word out. And I'm happy to report that over that 4 days, we saw 12,322 riders on TexRail. That's a 35% increase over the previous weekend from the year before. And on TRE, we saw 17,285 riders, which was a 50% increase in the same 4 days last year. Now, we did also have some Stars games and Mavs games mixed in that weekend. That accounted for roughly 2,600 of those riders. So on TRE, we're still seeing great numbers from our game trains, especially the Stars trains, and we want to continue to see that going. So go Stars. They're in the playoffs now. So.
And Luca is not.
Right.
So the numbers are like 4-1, Stars versus Mavericks games. Think about it.
That's correct. That's correct.
Any questions from?
Yeah, you have any questions? I'd be happy to answer them.
I don't have a question, but Reed, I just want to tell you at Main Street, because they're working with that crew every single day. This is the first year I've done that where non-Trinity Metro regulars were talking about the TexRail and the airport parking, and I walked up on dozens of conversations. So the long-term parking, beyond just people loving it for North Richland Hills and that area, but the long-term parking, people are really connecting with that, and I heard nothing but compliments about your team on that. So it was really cool, and I got to brag, and every once in a while I'd point someone over to Chad because he was there one day. I was like, hey, that's one of the guys, go talk to him. And I don't think Chad appreciated that quite as much by the fifth time, but we had a lot of fun with it. But people really loved utilizing our services to get there, so thank you for that.
Well, I appreciate that, and feel free to make any more comments that you wish like that. So, thanks, Ben.
Thank you, Reed. Operations, Alicia?
Well, Mr. Chairman, while Alicia's making her way to the podium, I think you all know Wayne Gensler, Chief Operations Officer, retired from Trinity Metro last week. He went home to St. Louis to be with his family. And so we are fortunate to have Alicia Walker stepping into this role on an acting basis, acting COO. Alicia comes to us with an extensive background in public transportation, spending most of her career with Los Angeles Metro, LA Metro, and most recently DART. So thank you, Alicia.
Thank you, Rich. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, board chair and members. Really happy to be here. Rich, read your hard act to follow, so I'm going to try to keep up with that. So, going to talk about our KPIs and operations. Really excited to share some things with you all. So, this is the bus fixed route. Our monthly ridership for March was 94,000 compared to March of 24, which was at 365. So our numbers are looking good there. Our on-time performance is at 88.6, with our goal at 89%. So we're hoping to reach our goal. The preventable accidents, our goal is 1.25 per 100,000 miles. Our March was at 1.64, which is 2 preventable collisions in excess of our goal. So we've got some work to do there. But our safety events, our goal is 0.4, and we are at 0.41. So we're really improving on our safety and really focused on that. As I go to the paratransit, our in-house statistics, we show that because we have a new fleet, of course, our miles between road calls are showing that we are at 89,000 compared to 10,000 last year. So we're very happy to have a new fleet. Thanks to you all approving that. So thank you very much. Our on-time performance is at 95.5%. It's up 1.3% from February, and our goal is 89%. So we're really exceeding there. I'm very happy about that. Preventable accidents, again, let's go back to our goal is 1.25, but we're at March at 3.35. And because of the low amount of vehicle revenue miles, and we were looking at 100,000 per, collisions per that makes our number a little skewed. So it was 1 accident, but it does look like it's way more. It was 3 preventable collisions, but they were minor in nature, so that's a plus. The safety was 0.045, and we had no safety events, so very happy with our in-house team. Our on-demand contract with VIA, our ridership was trending up over 18,000 versus 6,000 riders in FY24. Our on-time performance is at 91%, and our goal is 92. Preventable collisions, our goal is 0.5 for our on-demand and contractor, and for March, the result was 0.66, which was 1 preventable collision. Safety, the goal is 0.33, and there were no safety events, so very happy with that. So halfway through, we are looking like we're on pace for safety and meeting our safety goals. So with that, I'm going to really share some exciting news, if I could, with my next presentation, and then you can ask me questions after. I really wanted to give an overview on our demand performance review. So I think, as most of you know, in October 1st, we implemented a partnership with VIA for an innovative solution in technologically and service provider for our on-demand paratransit. And so very excited to see where we are and show you some of these numbers to show how this partnership is really being successful. So I know I'm showing the vehicles, but I know you all see them all around town, hopefully. And it's a lovely fleet, so I just wanted to share that with you. We do have 2 types of vehicles, 8 passengers with 2 wheelchairs, which is our ProMasters, and then we have the 5-passenger, the Chrysler Pacificas with 1 wheelchair. And so we're really excited to show that fleet and to see it riding around all of Tarrant County. So what I wanted to show you here on this slide is that, we've been trying to improve our service and create efficiencies for our customers. And this is about improving the customer experience, which is what we really wanted to focus on. So since the inception of this partnership, there has been a decrease of 85% in the trips longer than 90 minutes. That is a huge number. And if you look on March, you'll see in FY24, it kind of explains the numbers. There was 555 trips that were over 90 minutes, and now we're at 52. That's huge. And another thing, of course, we wanted to show
and reduce our excessive lateness. And as you can see from this, we've had a 72% reduction on excessive late trips that are more than 30 minutes. Again, that number goes from 589 for the month of March in 24 compared to 37. So we're just continuing to improve the service with this partnership that we have with VIA. And complaints. We all don't want to hear complaints now, do we? So we have really been trying to improve on that. But I wanted to point out, if you see the red, red, we started out in October. We had just changed our service, so when it's peaked that high, it's just because we had transitioned from utilizing our past contract, which was with Yellow Cab. And so there were a lot of questions, and there was a lot of changes to how the service, and so there was that. But as you can see, we have really dropped that number down, and now we're reduced 30% in reduction based on our average rider complaint ratio of 1,000 boardings. So we are really continuing to do that. We did have a little uptick in March compared to February, but of course, March is a longer month, so that number would indicate that. So very happy with these numbers. And our on-demand, another thing, and of course, we're not trying to, of course, take from our customer care. They're very important, but we do want to help to lift that. And one thing we introduced in February was the VIA app also had the paratransit piece, where people could book their rides day before 5 o'clock. And so, as you can see, and what the numbers are showing us, that they're utilizing the app. We're very excited about it, and it has reduced the call-in center calls by 1,300 plus hours since inception. Very excited about that. So our next steps, and I'm not going to go and read all of this. You all have this in your package. And I think that's slide 26. The commingling piece, we've already started that. We're phasing that portion in. We started out with a really small group to try to see, and what I mean by commingling is that we have the on-demand microtransit along with the paratransit trips combined. This will help us to create more efficiencies and more productivity with the vehicles that we have, and really trying to optimize as much as possible. As I said, this allows for 3 levels of commingling. This will be the tech side, the fleet, and the trips. So we're hoping to even have that be more efficient as we move forward, and these numbers to just continue to get better and better. The next phase will be planned fall of 2025, and then the phase 2, which will be a full integration of our commingling. Our goal is to have that up and running in sometime in 2026. And this concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
These are great stats. An 85% decrease is a lot. So VIA was the move. That's great. And then I love just the commingling and the synergies you're going to get. So please continue the great work. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Just a comment. If you know Michael Morris, at least twice a day, he'll remind you of innovation. And innovation takes many forms, and this is really an innovative process and a couple of projects, and it's exactly what we need to be doing, is thinking about how to deliver better services. And this is innovation at its best, and it doesn't cost us much. Actually, it ends up being cheaper. So Thank you and everyone on your staff for making that effort. It's Absolutely. A terrific solution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Chad?
We've heard 2 great reports. Don't mess this up.
Thanks, Ben. My name is Chad Edwards. I'm the Executive Vice President of Planning. Thank you for having me here today. I have 2 items that I'm going to share with you. First is the General Planning Consultant update that you can find on page 27 and 28. I'll highlight very quickly the new task order we have, Task Order 21, which is a comprehensive evaluation of on-demand services. It's going to take the information that Alicia shared with you and expand that so we can have a proper review of all of our on-demand services. So we're going to analyze all of our current service areas to determine do we have the proper number of zones? Are those zones too big? Should they reduce? What kind of level of service should we have? And then evaluate connections to the fixed route system as well, or the rest of the transit system. So we're going to be doing that. We've just executed the task and had the notice to proceed. I sent that off late last week. So we're moving ahead on that. The other item, it's not in your packet. I just wanted to highlight very quickly the ridership. And I'm going to go through three different things. One is the annual ridership where we are today. If you remember, our goal is 8.4 million rides this coming year. We're about halfway there. And about the same time last year, we were at the same area. So about halfway to our goal. Also wanted to highlight our system-wide ridership. We had a 15% increase in riders from last month to this month, which is a great number. We ended up with 680,000 rides last month in March. Like I said, a 15% increase. And then since Reed gave you the TexRail and TRE ridership, I'll go ahead and give you the bus numbers. We had an 11.3% increase on bus ridership from last month to this month. We ended at about 394,000 rides on our buses from last month. So just going to give you a heads up on that. You can always go to our website, and down at the bottom of our website has a performance dashboard, and you can click on ridership, and you can find this information any time of the day or night you wish to look up ridership on Trinity Metro. So with that, I'll conclude and see if you have any questions.
No questions, Chad?
Thank you very much.
Annette, please.
Good afternoon, board members. Annette Landeros, Chief Strategy Officer. I'm excited to share some legislative updates. We'll go ahead and get started with what's happening in Austin. This Thursday, for those who've been following what folks are calling the DART Bill HB 3187, it is now officially scheduled for a hearing. It was actually scheduled previously, but rescheduled for this Thursday. So Rich Andreski and I will be traveling to Austin to be part of this important conversation. He will be providing witness testimony alongside DART to discuss specifically what this means on a regional level, that as it relates to TRE. So as co-owners of TRE, and DART has stated that any reductions in funding may impact their ability to move forward with that, and we would just like them to know how that would impact our Tarrant County residents here as well. So we're excited to join them in that conversation. The second item that we're closely following is regarding the potential funding loss for the Amtrak Heartland Flyer. If those of you who may not be aware, this travels Oklahoma City to Fort Worth and pulls in right here at Central Station. So we have actually partnered with our colleagues at the Fort Worth Chamber, and they've taken the lead in assembling a coalition of tourism and economic development partners to co-author a letter, hopefully expressing again the support and impact that this would have on our Fort Worth residents, as that is a popular line that's traveled by tourists that are visiting here in Fort Worth. So it will have an economic impact, but also those traveling to Oklahoma City. And the third is, of course, our rider bill for TexRail funding, which is still something that we are advocating on behalf. Progress has continued to be steady. We're working to try to have conversations with our legislators to express the importance of expanding TexRail to the hospital district and the benefits that that would have in connecting to 50,000 jobs there. Additional bills of interest that we are following, just two, are HB 4348. This bill would prohibit local governments from reducing vehicular road capacity, such as lane reductions or road diets, without adding equivalent capacity. And there is some conversation about what that impact on transit might be there, particularly as it relates to things like streetcar. HB 689, this bill proposes increasing criminal penalties for certain offenses committed on public transportation vehicles with the goal of enhancing safety for passengers and riders. We have written a letter in support of that. And on the federal side, we are excited to be traveling to Washington, D.C. next month to join the APTA Legislative Summit and have already started to get appointments with our legislators there to talk about all the great things that we're doing here at Trinity Metro. Any questions?
No, just thank you all for going, down to Austin and DC, and it just shows what our priorities are, and just, standing up for our partners as well. So thank you all.
Thank you. And I know for those who have expressed interest on how to support on the DART bill, we will send out a link, but you can actually provide written comment for those unable to travel.
Paul, do you have a question?
Yeah, what's the impact on is it the Amtrak Heartland funding for the rail from Fort Worth to Oklahoma City? What's the ridership look like on that?
The ridership for that, I believe, is, what was that? 80,000 a year? Is that what they were mentioning?
Yes, yep.
80,000 a year.
Economic impact, according to Texas A&M, of $18 million annually.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're hoping to, again, that is a great deal of tourism dollars as families travel to Fort Worth. Thanks.
Thank you. Deidre.
While Deidre is making her way to the podium, I just want to say that Vanpool, this excellent presentation you're getting from Deidre, this is not a service line that gets maybe a lot of attention at Trinity Metro historically. What you're going to see is this is actually a service that's having a high impact at a reasonable cost, and it is a major way in which we provide mobility here instead of a one-size-fits-all model, right? It's not all about the big buses. It's about the right size vehicle for the right service. So.
Yes. Thank you, Rich. Good afternoon, board members. I'm Deidre Whitmore, Vice President of Community Engagement and Customer Service. I want to share two key things with you today. First, I'm going to provide an overview of our Vanpool program, and then I'll present the board action item with two recommendations. I also want to invite you to see the nice vehicle outside. That's just a testimony of the type of vehicles that we have in our fleet. Let's see if I can work this. So Trinity Metro has been providing Vanpool service for over 30 years. It's a lifeline for workers commuting to areas with little or no transit connections. Our Vanpool program expands across multiple counties to support workforce mobility, including Tarrant County, Johnson, Parker, Hood, Erath, Wise, Palo Pinto, Somerville, Dallas, Ellis, and Navarro counties. And we certainly hope the individuals in those counties are okay from the storms that we had over the weekend. Our program fills critical gaps where traditional transit isn't available, connecting employees to job sites. But when we talk about Vanpool, it's not just another service. It's a strategic investment in workforce well-being and business collaboration. The dramatic growth in 2019, from 2019 to today, does speak volumes on the impact that this program has on our community. March saw ridership of 36,000 trips per day or per month, and there were like 1,376 people using Vanpool each day for the month of March. That's a lot. So why do people choose Vanpool? Well, Vanpooling offers more than just a ride. It's a cost-effective, stress-reducing way to commute. Participants experience less wear and tear on their personal vehicles. It's a stress reliever. You know, people are riding, and when they get to work, they're able to perform. They're ready to work. And it's a lower cost and also for transit. Additionally, Trinity Metro provides a 30% subsidy per Vanpool, partnering with Firestone and Goodyear for maintenance, ensuring no out-of-pocket costs for our participants. And some insurance carriers even offer a 15% reduction on your personal auto insurance. Other benefits, lots of key benefits. Emergency ride home program for van pool, providing a peace of mind for those unexpected situations. For instance, if someone has to work overtime and they're a part of a van pool and they get off at 5 o'clock, we're going to make sure that they're getting home safely. Or if they have to leave early for an emergency at home before their van pool group leaves, we're going to make sure they get home to safe, to take care of their responsibility. And then fuel coverage by Trinity Metro is a cornerstone to success, making this program accessible and affordable. And we'll circle back to the fuel coverage. Another thing that's a great perk for being a van pool user, the van pool users actually get a 50% reimbursement for using managed lanes. So when they're driving, commuting back and forth to work on managed lanes, COG, working with COG, Enterprise, and Trinity Metro, they are receiving a 50% reimbursement by going to the link there and setting up their account. We are working with COG now to make that 100% reimbursement, so there's much more coming on that. Beyond serving individuals, our van pool program has a powerful environmental impact. 300,000 trips were eliminated on the roads, 7.1 million pounds of CO2 emissions reduced. This data that I'm reporting to you, we report that to the National Transit Database each month, demonstrating the tangible benefits of shared commuting. So I want to share the next 3 slides with you, just to share with you where our van pool participants are working. So as you can see, the VA hospital, there's 111 van pools going to that one place of business. Just think about all the people that are using van pool. And then this particular graph shows where they're starting from. Many of them are starting from Tarrant County, but many are ending up in Dallas County, 128 as a destination. Our customer service satisfaction rating, we're proudly happy to say we're maintaining that 94% satisfaction rate, well above the national average of 85%. Employers have expressed the appreciation for the program's positive impact on employee retention and reducing absenteeism. So the positive impact for funding fuel, and that's one of the things that we want to talk about today. Fuel coverage has been a driving force behind our success of this program, increasing participation and ensuring that van pooling remains the most feasible transportation option for commuters. By providing fuel cost, or covering the fuel costs, we uphold 2 of our core values, sustainability and reliability. 1, we reduce individual car usage, decreasing traffic congestion and carbon emissions. We foster a stronger community by enabling shared commuting. And we improve quality of life through financial and logistical support. Without fuel coverage, we risk weakening the program's effectiveness and impacting employee retention rates and also the absenteeism of employers. For instance, I spoke with the director of Sabre Industries. She's the director of HR. And we did outreach at that particular company. We were there for a whole day, first, second, and third shift. And after that day, we yielded 4 van pool groups put together. Since then, a month later, actually last month, we delivered our 10th van pool to that company. And the company kicked in $200 toward each van pool. So they see the benefit of retention. I was talking about records retention. They see the benefits of retention. They also see the benefits of recruiting people and keeping key employees on staff so that they can get to work. And also, I shared with you the graph that shows where one company has over 100 van pools. So think about that. Think about all the people that's dependent on our services. So our van pool program isn't just about transportation, right? It's about access, opportunity, and sustainability. For thousands of commuters, this service is the key to reliable employment, financial stability, and an improved quality of life. Fuel coverage is not just a convenience, it's a necessity that enables workers to get to their jobs, strengthen their employee retention, and reduce environmental impact. So after listening to our participants from our public meetings and reading the comments, our recommendation is to continue covering the fuel for our van pool program. This affects real people, real businesses, and our commitment to sustainability. This also reinforces Trinity Metro's role as a regional leader in workforce mobility, business collaboration, and environmental responsibility. Mr. Chairman, that is my report on our van pool. I'll be happy to answer any questions, and then I'll come back up to present the board action item.
Have questions now, or do you want to wait for the action item? Thank you, Deidre.
Thank you.
Hi, Greg.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Greg Jordan, Chief Financial Officer. Today I'm going to go over the fiscal month 5 or February financial report. So overall, we're looking very good at this point in time. We do have some lagging revenues that we're being mindful of and paying attention to, but our position at the end of the year is right now projected to be $3 million more favorable than we'd originally budgeted. So drawing your attention to the revenues, total revenues are budgeted at $225.5 million. We're currently projecting $223.1. This is about $2.4 million below budget. Fort Worth sales tax is projected to end the year at $115.5 million, or roughly $3.5 million below budget. North Richland Hills and Grapevine are both projected at 15.2. This is $1.6 million above budget. Overall, we're projecting to come in pretty close, but we have had 3 negative months of year-over-year negative growth, and so that has us paying very close attention to the sales tax. About a week ago, we got our most current reading in sales tax, which isn't incorporated into this data, but both Grapevine, North Richland Hills, and Fort Worth sales tax, we're all seeing 4% decline year over year in sales tax. So sales tax making up 89% of our revenues, excluding grants. We're going to be very, very mindful and paying close attention to that as we move forward. Grant income year to date is $40.3 million. We have the remainder of that we're projected to collect towards the end of the fiscal year, and the overall portfolio is hovering about 4.44% yield, and this is really on track with what we've seen for the last couple months relative to the portfolio. Expenditures are trending positively. We have a total operating budget of $163.7 million. We're currently projecting $158.6. This is roughly $5.1 million below budget. As we look at the individual modes, fixed route year to date is 12.1. We spent $12 million by this same time period last year, so we're right on track with that performance. Currently projecting year-end expenditures at $28.7 million, and by this time last year, or by comparison, last year's total spend was $28.5. On-demand microtransit is on track to end the year with $1.2 million in savings. This is against a budget of $10.7 million. Current year to date is $3.9 million. Last year's year to date was $3.7, so pretty much on track there. Current year projection is $9.5 million, and last year's total spend was $9 million overall. On-demand and paratransit, currently projecting a slight overage of about $370,000. This is against a budget of $13 million. Current year to date is $6.1 million. Last year to date was $3.7. Not necessarily a very fair comparison because not all the data had been reflected by that time period last year. Generally speaking, we'd expect to see the spend at about $6 million at this point in the year. Current year projection for paratransit is 13.3, and our prior year actual was 10.3. TRE is coming in right at budget with projected savings of about $116,000. The current year budget's $19.2 million. The current year to date is $7.4, on track with last year's $7.3 million. And we're currently projecting 19.1 at the end of the year, thereby generating a savings of $116,000. TexRail is projected to end with nearly $1 million in savings, $883,000. Current year budget of $33.7. Current year to date, we've spent $10.1, slightly less than the $11.1 we spent last year, and currently projecting $32.8, and last year's Total spend was $29.8. Bike share, we're anticipating savings of about $200,000. The current year budget is right about $1 million. Current year to date, we've spent $263,000. Last year to date, we'd spent about $350,000, and the current year projection is $747,000. General and administrative services, this is pretty much everything that we haven't talked about so far. Total budget was 57.1, and we're currently projecting 53.0 with a savings of $4 million at the end of the year. In summary, we're currently projecting to end the year with $64.5 million in net operating income. This is 2.8 more favorable than we'd budgeted for. As we advance throughout the rest of the year, we'll be keeping a very close eye on the sales tax performance as well as those grant dollars too. So with that, I'll answer any questions the board may have.
Questions for Greg?
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Action items.
Hello again. If you turn to page 51, I'll present today board action item 2025-28. It's the blue line. Hopefully you guys have heard a little bit about the blue line. We've been focusing on trying to take our most frequent and high ridership routes and upgrade and modify them into a color-coordinated system where it's easy to see and understand. So we're doing strategic rebranding of bus routes. The first one you did see was the orange line. The next one that we will be doing is the Molly. And so I have on the screen, it's not in your packet, I apologize, but I thought it'd be helpful to have a visual of what the Molly currently is today and what we're moving to on the blue line. So this is one of the examples for the blue line. The blue line will continue on the route that the Molly currently flows on with Commerce in Houston downtown, but we'll be changing the frequency from 10 to 15 minutes to 7 minutes, and we'll be changing the time of day of the service from 10 to 10 to 7 to 7. So if you can start to get a theme there, 777. 7 minutes, 7 a.m., 7 p.m. So with that change, we added a bus to the route. So what will happen is the Blue Line bus will continually move as a circulator around downtown. So you're not going to have a prolonged time period or wait at Fort Worth Central Station. So if you're getting on at one of the hotels downtown, you're not going to have to wait at Central Station before you have to move on again. So we're going to make sure that that happens. These are electric buses. If they look familiar, they used to be painted red and was the dash. We've repurposed these buses and put them downtown. We thought it was a good idea. There is a recharging facility over at Fort Worth Central Station. So in case these buses need to be recharged, we have that quick charge at Fort Worth Central Station to be able to do that. And it only takes about 6 minutes, if I remember right, to get that charged. So since we did add an extra bus to the service and it is continually moving, we did a Title VI analysis to make sure that we weren't going to negatively impact any minority or low-income residents. And the result of that was there was no disparate impact or disproportionate burdens to those populations. We did have a public meeting back in February when we were anticipating to launch this at that time frame. We had gone ahead and done those public meetings. We didn't receive any negative comments or comments in general in opposition to our change here from Molly to the Blue Line, other than Kelly, who would really like to keep the Molly around. Let's see, the next one is the financing. We do have the increase of $386,000 annually for this service in the budget, so that is a good thing. And then last but not least is the recommendation is that we recommend the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorizes the President and Chief Executive Officer to rebrand Molly the Trolley as a Blue Line, change service hours from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and increase service to 7 minutes. And with that, I will take any questions.
A statement and a question. First, that's the right shade of blue. Good job on that. And then the question is, there'll be parts of it where it's interacting with the orange line. What will our headways be when we have the 7-minute blue line plus the orange line? I mean, that's
So
bus
you
rapid
have
transit,
15-minute headways and 7-minute headways. So it'll be somewhere in the middle, about 10 minutes a bus, or no, less than that, I'm sorry. It goes the other way. So it'll probably be about 4.5 minutes if I'm doing that right. So a bus will be going by about every 4 minutes or so.
That's pretty good.
So in downtown, that's not bad. And we're stopping at the same stops. There's one stop that is not identical in downtown, and that's the TNP station that the Molly will access on Lancaster, but the Orange Line currently does not.
What's the expected life of these buses now remaining?
Let's see, I think they're 6 years old at this point, so another 6 years at least. If not longer, if we can get longer out of them, that'd be great.
Any other question? I'll accept a motion. Motion. We have a motion.
Second.
And a second to approve BA 2025-28.
Very excited about the blue line.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries
All right, thank you.
unanimously. Thank you, Chad. Great service.
It's me again.
Hi, Alicia.
Hi. Board Action 2025-29, compressed natural gas buses, or CNG buses. We are seeking to purchase additional buses as an option that was included in 23-008 in the initial purchase of CNGs. FTA provided 85% of the funding for this purchase. And so what I'm recommending is the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorizes the purchase, the President and Chief Executive Officer to execute a contract for 15 35-foot compressed natural gas buses with Gillick LLC in the amount of $12,310,260 with a 15% contingency of $1,846,539 for a total amount not to exceed $14,156,799. 14,156,799.
Now say that 5 times fast.
Yeah, 14 million.
So are these replacing some older buses?
This is adding to our fleet to meet the service hours, the service that we are putting out on the street.
So are we retiring some buses or not?
We are not.
Just adding to the fleet?
Yes.
Which will help our reliability?
Yes.
Any questions?
Question?
Sure.
Yeah. I noticed there were only 2 firms that responded to the solicitation.
Yes.
Is that standard when we're looking at purchasing new buses? And forgive me for newbie questions. I'm going to have a few.
No
For
worries.
a while, so.
These are the only 2 OEMs that provide heavy-duty buses.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. And then the 15% contingency, I guess, what are the variables in the manufacturing process that would require us to have contingency dollars on that? Is it materials or?
Yes, it's for spare parts, it's for training, it's for things that are unexpected. Luckily, these are CNG, so it's not about batteries and things like that, but it just will allow us to have a little flexibility if we have to purchase something that may, like a part or some kind of tool that's needed to service these buses.
Yeah. So, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we are guaranteed a fixed price on the vehicles themselves. So everything above and beyond the fixed price for the vehicles would be in the contingency.
Yes.
But
correct.
It's elective, right?
Yes.
So we're not obligated.
Not at all, but I don't want to not have it just in case there is something that has happened. So we just want to kind of cover for that, but the goal is not to utilize that. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other
That's
questions?
a good question. We have a contingency, I think, a process too, where it's vetted. It just doesn't come automatically because somebody asks. They have to go through a staff process of why are we doing this? And so I think it's a very valid question, and I think we vetted that historically and Rich?
Yeah, internal change control, so that contingency is not automatically allocated to the vendor. It's only in the event that we need it, and then it's done through an internal leadership sign-off and review process, so the executive leaders have to review and concur before that contingency is released.
Excellent.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve?
We have a motion and a second.
It's a race.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you. Yay.
More buses. We're on a roll, Annette.
I
Go
know,
ahead.
following the excitement of the Blue Line and 15 new buses, let's talk about web development services. Board Action Item 2025-30, Web Development Services. So Trinity Metro uses primarily two websites, ridetrinitymetro.org, TrinityRailwayExpress.org. And so we do this to promote our services, help customers. They can book their trips online. We also use it for posting public notices, e-commerce. We also have our chat bot there as well that can help aid in anyone's need of questions or complaints. So who visits our website? So we're excited to share that about 58,000 visitors go to the Trinity Metro website a month, and about 25,000 visitors visit the TRE website, for a combined 83,000 people viewing these sites each month. That is why we have a need for continued web development services to assist us with maintenance and development of these services, and also they help us with our search engine optimization, monitoring website ADA compliance, and making recommendations so that we can keep up with current trends. So the recommendation is that the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorize the President and Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract with Planetaria Media for web development services for 5 years. The annual cost is not to exceed $150,000 for a total not to exceed the amount of $750,000.
Any questions? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion and a second. All those in favor of BA 2025-30, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Annette.
Yay,
Okay.
All right, Kelly, talk about drugs.
I know. Just going downhill from there. You better clap after this.
It's Monday.
Thank you. My name is Kelly Shields. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer here at Trinity Metro. If you'll turn to page 54 in your board packets, I'll go over BA 2025-31, Drug and Alcohol Testing and Physical Exams. This contract is for our regulated and non-regulated drug, alcohol, and physical exams. We put out an RFP, and we received 8 responses. Concentra's proposal was found to be the most responsive and responsible, and all funds will be available in our operating budget. So therefore, I'd like to recommend that the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorize the President and Chief Executive Officer to execute a 5-year contract with Concentra for physical examinations and drug and alcohol testing for an estimated amount of $832,040.
Quiet. No one wants to talk about drugs or alcohol. We have a motion to approve. And a second, Rachel. Thank you. BA 2025-31. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Kelly.
Oh, clap. Thank you.
Okay, Deidre, now we get to the excitement.
Yes. Portion of the presentation. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I'm Deidre Whitmore, Vice President of Community Engagement and Customer Service. If you could please turn your attention to page 55, I'll present BA 2025-32 Van Pool Program and New Rates. This action item is to seek your approval to obtain a contract with the van pool provider, increase the rates with fuel included. I guess it'd help us I've changed this. So Trinity Metro, we advertised an RFP for van pool services and received one proposal. The evaluation committee reviewed and chose Enterprise Holdings, LLC. This particular chart shows that this is what the rates are going to go to. That's what's changing. And this is with Trinity Metro's subsidy already accounted for. And this is the amount that the van pool participants will pay divided on by the number of people that's in the van pool. And it depends on the type of vehicle that they are in. We had, since there were so many different shifts that our employees work, we held public meetings. We had 4 virtual public meetings to gather input from the affected customers. There were 198 participants on the call. And you have all of those comments that are a part of your packet in your board packet. So the van pool program is funded through a combination of federal grants, rider contributions, and Trinity Metro local match. Funds are available in Trinity Metro's FY 2025 operating budget, and funds for future contract years will be considered in the respective proposed budgets. Therefore, our recommendations are today, the Trinity Metro Board of Directors authorize the President, Chief Executive Officer to enter into a contract with EAN Holdings, LLC, Enterprise Holdings through Commute with Enterprise, in the amount of $2,114,000, which includes fuel for 1-year contract with 4 one-year options to renew, with a total 5-year amount not to exceed $10,570,000, and to implement the new rates of the van pool program effective May 1st, 2025. Yes, sir.
I have a question. The service makes total sense to me. I think we totally need it. But just looking at the map and the local match, it looks like we're kind of encroaching on DART's territory. Is there a reason why DART isn't contributing to the match?
Well, actually, we are in DART's territory. We took it over in 2022. Okay. So DART's board decided they no longer wanted to be in the van pool business. It was during COVID when it was hard to get the chips for the vehicles. Their provider could not keep up with demand. And so that just left customers not being in vehicles that were reliable. They weren't kept up. So we were asked by COG to share the areas for DART. So DCTA, when I say we, DCTA took over some of DART's areas and Trinity Metro did. So that grew our regional service. So no, there's only 2 van pool agencies, transit agencies that has van pool, and it's us and DCTA.
Wow.
And my goal is for Trinity Metro to be the regional provider. I'm saying it out loud.
Cool. All right. That's where we're moving. Let's do it.
Rich, you have
did I answer your question?
Yeah, I don't.
It's fine. I just want money from DART.
No. We want real money first. Doesn't everybody? Yeah.
And we'll work on that too.
Just in all seriousness, one of the things that we've been in my tenure here is looking at ways to grow Trinity Metro in a way that is, number one, cost effective and allows us to draw in new sources of revenue to this organization. I think it's a strategic weakness or risk for us to be entirely dependent on our half-penny sales tax. And so this program opens new doors to us. It gets us in the room with other counties. It gets us in the room with other entities that could be doing more with this organization at a cost, right, under a contractual relationship. So that's the way this is sort of the evolution of my own thinking about Vanpool and what Vanpool can do for this organization. I'll also point out that you saw this Dietrich slide. It showed 70% borne by the user, 30% by Trinity Metro. Of that 30% that Trinity Metro incurs, that is an 80-20 federal split. So 80% of those funds come from the feds and then 20% local. So I guess if you do that math, that ends up being 6% of the program cost is local, Trinity Metro, and then 94% is is subsidized either by the user or by the federal formula.
Yes.
Motion to approve.
Second. Quick question before we proceed. Are we concerned just strategically that we only receive one respondent, or is there only one respondent that's able to provide this service?
There's only one.
There's only one, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Is that
You're welcome.
Enterprise Rent-A-Car?
Enterprise, yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, it's a subsidiary. It's not the, right? It's,
Yes, it's
Deidre, why don't you give
Enterprise, Commute with Enterprise is the sub-company.
And I guess just to take that conversation further, is that is the only provider locally that can respond to us? I just get concerned about something like that. When we have one respondent, we're going to be, if there's only going to be one respondent, I mean, it's a monopoly in the local area. So what are we doing to study that to make sure that we're not locking ourselves into a position with them, especially if we want to be competitive?
So I think we can do some due diligence on that to make sure. We're starting with a one-year base term, so why don't we commit to getting back to this board
Yes.
with an investigation about other, and why we didn't receive other proposers?
I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Yes, we can do that.
I know we have a motion, but I just had a question. This has been in place since the early 1980s, so how often do we visit these routes and these areas to see whether or not we can expand?
So for Vanpool is a little different from fixed route.
Right.
Vanpool is used by employees going to different job sites in these particular counties. We do reach out to our employers to see how things are going. For outreach, we also go and talk to new employers. For instance, we're targeting Alliance because there's lots of employers up there. People need to get to those jobs. So we're going to be targeting that area. But the word of mouth, the growth of this program is really from word of mouth, employees talking to their coworkers about it. But yes, we did reach out.
Will you be able to give us an update when you have that outreach to Alliance and let us know? The reason I'm asking is because we have also, I know this is really primarily for employees, but there is a campus out in Alliance, and there might be some students that might want to participate in this, and I just don't know if this is the the vehicle or the format to do it, but I'm just curious because there are students that are out there and there's that might be able to participate in this, so I just didn't know.
Okay, that's really something to explore. As long as they're going to the same class, same time,
Right.
yeah, and willing to share the cost of that vehicle.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ask questions about the comments. I want to confirm all the concerns about fuel are resolved in this new contract, right? Like the cost for fuel is not being passed on to
Correct.
riders, which was the primary concern that they had.
Yes.
There were
Yes.
lots of negative comments about both the increase in cost and the increase in fuel. I'm wondering what's the turnaround for getting all of these 198 folks who left all these comments to understand where we've landed in terms of the contract, to kind of quell some of the
So they ease their minds a little.
because there's lots of people on here saying, I quit.
I know, right? Well, the turnaround is after this meeting.
Right.
I promise them once we hear what the board decides, we will definitely let them know so they'll be able to make their decision.
Do you have any concern about any of the van pools actually
Going away.
going away?
We could have some van pools leave. It's just like when we raise rates for our regular fares, you lose your riders and then they'll come back. So we will experience some of that, but I think they'll come back after they realize, hey, this is really beneficial and cost effective for me to be a part of this van pool. And we're still getting, even in the midst of all this, we got 2 calls last week. People want to start van pools, so it's still growing.
Okay, any other questions?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second to approve BA 2025-32. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deidre. We'll have the president's report now. Mr. Rich?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, Trinity Metro staff, and members of the public. I've got 3 updates for you today. The first is your Trinity Metro leadership team has been busy engaging with our team. We've had a couple of opportunities over the last 30 days. One was our annual pancake breakfast, and this year we added cheesesteaks for lunch. And we spent 18 hours together in the paint booth over starting at 2:30 in the morning, and we were flipping pancakes and making cheesesteaks and engaging with all 650 of our team members. And a really great day. And thank you, board members. A number of you stopped by and appreciate that. We also had an opportunity, this was it last week, to, in this room here, do a series of all hands meetings, 8 of them, I think 8 was the number, right? Yes, 8 meetings where all 650 employees cycled their way through this room, and we had a conversation with them about all of the good things that we've been doing to really address some of their concerns that they've expressed. And I'm going to give a shout out to Maggie Opitz. I don't know, Maggie, are you in the room? There's Maggie. Maggie did a phenomenal job as sort of the organizer of an employee task force that looked at 4 areas for improvement: safety, communication, training, and morale. And it was a really positive conversation. What we wanted to demonstrate to our workforce was that we have been listening to them, we have been taking decisive action. One area I'll note around safety and security was a concern about the Dr. Dennis Duncan's transfer center, which had experienced increased activity, loitering, unsafe behaviors. In partnership with the Fort Worth Police Department, Chief Noakes and his team have done an extraordinary job of helping us deploy resources there, which has led to a precipitous decline in some of these behaviors that were causing concern for our workforce. And so we're going to continue to work with the chief and his team on that. But what's heartening about that is we've seen the results. The data doesn't lie, and the numbers are have shown significant improvement. That's a benefit not only for our workforce, but for the riders who pass through that facility every day. The second update, we are hosting a delegation from Ohio on Wednesday and Thursday of this week. Columbus, Ohio, a number of mayors, city mayors, city officials will be visiting us, as well as our counterparts at COTA, the Columbus Area Transit Authority, to look at TexRail and some of the other innovations here at Trinity Metro, like Orange Line and Blue Line. So we're excited to host them. They'll be here Wednesday evening and all day Thursday. Our leadership team will be accompanying them. Unfortunately, I'm going to be called down to Austin to testify, so I won't be here on Thursday, but our leadership team will be showing them the system, and we're proud of that. We're proud to see folks from all the way from Ohio making a trip here to learn from Trinity Metro. It's a kind of a point of pride for our team. And the final update I have for you is you heard Annette Landeros talk about the House Bill 3187. This is the DART funding reduction bill. I'll just highlight a few numbers that I think are really important and why we're making time to be there in Austin. Our region adds 1 new resident every 3 minutes. I had to do the math on that. I couldn't wrap my head around that, but the math works. So if you do that math, we add 1 resident every 3 minutes in our region, and that's further straining already congested roadways here. From an economic development standpoint, the Texas A&M Innovation District, the Fort Worth Convention Center expansion, and new hotels that are going up in and around downtown here represent $1 billion, that's with a B, $1 billion in private and public sector investment. And that's all centered around our Fort Worth Central Station. By the way, I mentioned hotels. I also mentioned there's a major new residential building going up across the street. Groundbreaking's happening in the next 30 days. So all that economic development centers around Fort Worth Central Station. And the final number I'd throw out there at you is that we did our own market research, really high-quality polling, high-quality focus groups, and we found that 1 in 3 Tarrant residents use Trinity Metro rail service. That number 2 is mind-boggling, 1 in 3. So when we think about our transit system, I think it's easy to sometimes, again, think of that as a system for a small population of users. In fact, it's 1 in 3 people. So for those reasons, it's worth the effort and time to go to Austin. Now is not the time to scale back. It's the time to double down on smart, efficient, and effective investments in rail, investments that meet the demands of our growing population and support the prosperity of our region. And with that, Mr. Chairman, back to you.
Thank you, Rich. Just a piggyback comment on the legislation related to DART and how it affects Trinity Metro. It dramatically affects what we do. I think last year we had 1.3 million riders on the TRE, and we cannot have that service without DART's partnership, and that will be probably the first of their services to go. And you all know that the Silver Line costs $2.5 billion, and the second service to go will be regular service on the Silver Line. They'll have one train, perhaps, a day on a $2.5 billion project. And I will say some of the data used by Plano in particular is misleading because it's old data based upon services from 2 or 3 years ago. It doesn't take into effect future service that will include that Plano is at the end station of that Silver Line, and that amount of economic development is dramatic. You've all heard or seen Michael Morris in the last few months talk about the horses out of the barn, and that's the data that Rich just talked about, with 4.4 million people coming to the region in the next 20 to 25 years. You've heard about FIFA and their requirement that the region, before they'll have this engine of 8 or 9 Super Bowls in the North Texas region, they required a robust transit system, which we promised them. You'll recall the old Amazon HQ2 search, one of their requirements for their employees, because those younger, talented folks require public transit in some fashion before they really come to work in a community. So there's a theme here about economic development, about attracting youth talent, just in business in general. And where are you going to put these people? We are in this region in a serious non-attainment zone. We are limited in the number of businesses we can continue to bring into this marketplace in the next few years, or they will start penalizing those people that do the most pollution. That's a reality, and we're in the middle of trying to mitigate that, but it's a serious non-attainment zone. It isn't something that we ever expected, but now if you look into the horizon in Fort Worth, Texas, and Tarrant County, you can start seeing the smog at various times of day, and that's very unpleasant. So I'm going to suggest that defunding DART is a terrible idea. They need to just do just the opposite and double down on better service. There's this community in Ontario. I just don't believe this. I don't recall the name. It's a town of about 700,000, much like Fort Worth's demographic. A little bit of concentration downtown, but mostly suburban. Over the last 15 years, through adding service, they've increased ridership to 228,000 a day. That's mind-boggling. You know, Vancouver does 1 million a day. Dallas doesn't do by itself that number in a day. But they've done it with providing better bus shelters, more frequent service, enumerating their lines, making them color-coded, talking about what advantages there are to reducing smog, to congestion. These are the things that we aspire for. And if we can ever continue this march toward quality, there's something called, and we're familiar with induced demand with roads. Well, that's a proof of concept of induced demand for transit. If you build more, if you give more frequency, you give people what they want around major corridors, you provide good, safe, reliable service, they will come. My second comment is I eschew, that means don't like, committees. I don't like meetings longer than you have to, so we recently didn't have committee meetings. I think maybe we should consider, at the May retreat, I'd like to talk about having a few committees that I think we might need, and they relate to transit-oriented development. We don't really have a transit-oriented development policy at the moment. It's time. We talked about that. We've got some great examples of our own TexRail lines where they're just knocking it out of the park with that transit-oriented development, and we need the same thing at every station that we have, and every station that we build in the future, we must consider that first in partnership with all of the cities. The other committees I'm talking about, federal, state, and local. There's just so much we don't know. I think it's time we started investing what we know, talking about and educating with our political leaders. So I'd like to think about federal, state, and local committees to talk about government relations. So we're not blindsided from some legislation that happens to be coming up, and I think not being able to use our roadways as we see fit in our community is a real problem for me. If we want urban rail to go down one of our roadways, we ought to be able to make that decision. The same thing is true for other modes, complete streets. Those things are really important to our overall effort for biking and walking and creating this great place for talent. So those are just a couple of comments. I want to do better. I really think if you can, weigh in with your legislators at the state, because this passing will have a terrible effect on the whole region in North Texas. And I'll leave it at that. So any other comments from, yeah, Paul?
I just wanted to thank Mr. Daniel Rodriguez again for setting the tone. A very thoughtful presentation. Thank you, sir. It will echo with us, and thank you again, very much so.
Thank you. It really was a good presentation. If there's no further business to come before the board, we have no May board meeting, so we will have the retreat in May. We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.